evidence I have provided, and along with my understanding of the law, they are harboring a nuisance. The DA's office currently has a copy of this timeline that we have provided, along with the same pictures and DVD evidence. If you would please take the time to read our letter, it would be greatly appreciated. A lot of time, effort, and money went in gathering all of this information and providing it for you. The harassment continues along with the new timeline. Please help us get our home back. On behalf of myself and my husband, I would like to thank you sincerely. Thank all of you with any efforts to help us. Thank you. Have a nice evening. I don't know how I get
Lorna, if you could present to Chief Downing and
I don't know, and I'm throwing myself under the bus, but we have 2 police reports that were sent to the DA's office regarding the dumping that the previous DA person did not pick up. So a new one was issued. This letter explains pretty much more detail of what I read. Please read it. My copies.
I haven't spoken with you, but I want to give you my card, and I'd like for you to come see me or us to set up an appointment so we can talk about this situation, and I'll see if I can help you with that. So do you have something for them?
I have, yeah, that's
We have several
I need
copies
copies. I'm supposed to.
or a timeline.
This is not making copies of it.
Trying to save time so I can read them.
Okay, I'll give them copies.
Just a note, if you guys want to look at these, feel free. They start from the most latest date in 2010. I believe November, December of 2010. The picture started. If I knew it was going to last 4 years, I would have taken more pictures. I would have been there on the notes, like bam, bam, bam from day one. I had no idea. I thought when I contacted Ms. Lozano and the property owner, it was something was going to happen, and nothing happened. So I started taking notes, timeline, dates, times of the phone calls. But these are the, you can have the copies of for you guys. They're in order from the oldest to the newest. Okay. And there's also a DVD in there of
also the pictures and video surveillance that I've captured from my cameras.
of trespassing. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. My bad, was like normal. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Okay, anybody else under? Okay, then we'll move on to item number 6, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine by the City Council. There will be no separate discussion on these items. Any member of the public or the City Council may request removal of an item from the consent calendar to be considered separately. Council. A motion to approve. Second, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hancock.
As we reported at the beginning of the meeting, we moved item 12B further up to the front of the agenda. And I will have Chief Downing give us a presentation on that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council and members of the public. Good evening. What you have before you is a request for a waiver of the first reading and introduce of ordinance number 14-0997, regulating the cultivation of medical marijuana within the city of Susanville. And as I reported at the last council meeting, I'll go through that again for the benefit of everyone here, that current California state law allows for the cultivation of medical marijuana by specified individuals for their personal use and for those who are classified as primary caregivers of other qualified users. And as a result of public safety and the concerns of the community that has been expressed, staff has worked together and developed and is presenting to you a request and an ordinance to address the cultivation of medical marijuana within the city of Susanville. The proposed ordinance will regulate the cultivation of medical marijuana and provide a ban on growing medical marijuana in all outdoor settings within the city, and would only be allowed to cultivate in certain specified structures within the residential zone only. The ordinance would regulate the type and the size of those structures that would be allowed, and we believe that would help us assist addressing the concerns that we have with adjoining property owners who have been subjected to the effects of marijuana growing in adjoining properties, as well as the public safety concern of unregulated outdoor marijuana growth, as well as potential target of marijuana inside of residentials, or inside of homes, the criminal activity. So if approved, this ordinance would make that type of violation a misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of not more than $1,000 or 1 year in the county jail, and also allow the city to enact civil actions and administrative penalties that are already in our municipal code. So if you have any questions, I'd be willing to take them.
Any questions from the council?
I misunderstood where we were talking the last time. And I apologize because I was looking at dispensaries and you were coming from the backside where the law provides for 8 ounces and 6 plants and
Yes.
9 or 12. So no, I apologize for my concern with what you said.
Okay. Anything else from the council at this time? We'll open it to the public. And we'll go with the ones that, at least we'll start with the ones that turned in a sheet, and then if anybody else wants to speak, we'll have an opportunity as well. We will start with, let me do my best with everybody's names here. Lisa Bonton.
I was reading this today, and talking about it. I'm a little unclear as to, I guess, the amount of room as space. I realize it needs to be regulated. There's no question. I realize that something needs to be done. But exactly what? We, on the property that we rent from, there's structures there. I myself as a cancer patient, I'm just concerned that it needs to be clear that I would be able to have access to my medicine as well as my husband, or other people. What is reading the 200 feet. Also being Native American, we're concerned about our ceremonies and our inherent rights to use our medicine. So I just came to put that out there that as a cancer patient, it's hard to travel from Susanville all the way to get treatment at UC Davis or Reading or Chico or wherever you have to go. So it gets puts a little bit of anxiety because when you that may or may not have the ability to travel there. Their medicine maybe take it with you. So I just wanted to put that out there. Even though I realize there needs to be regulations.
Any Westerby?
My name is Amy Westerback, and I live at 3095 Johnsonville Road. And I have been a medical marijuana patient for about 5 years. I suffer from lumbar stenosis and cervical stenosis. And some of it is congenital. My mother had it, and she was in a wheelchair. When she gets a little bit older than me, and she worked with her walker. And I pay very close attention to what my doctor tells me to do. I work with my physicians. And I have managed to avoid surgery thus far. Sometimes I do suffer from intractable pain, which sends me to emergency room if that happens. I'm really trying to not let that happen, but if it happens, I get shot, Toradol, which is a very strong anti-inflammatory, and that is got a lot of high risk. You can bleed even if you get the shot. I thought it was just a good order, but you can bleed internally with it, and I know people that have. So anyway, according to my doctor's recommendation, I just ingest. It takes a little more of a plant, but I use it and I keep the inflammation down and the pain, and I use it in conjunction with pharmaceuticals. And when it comes to health and safety, I think I'm more concerned with the way things are with Susanville, people stealing things, people stealing other people's pharmaceuticals, or people, I think there's a huge methamphetamine problem here. I've met people, I've asked people who used it in the past, and those people scare me. I have been robbed in my home. I owned a place in town now for 10 years. I've been here 20. I've been a massage therapist for over 30, and I still try. My doctor says do as much as you can. And I'm determined whether I have to lean over or what medicine ever I have to take to get up in the saddle again and do what I can do. I'm not about to give up. I'm 62. And I would like to ask the council and the staff to consider parameters to allow an outdoor grow. Whether that might be the size of the lot. Maybe it has to be a half an acre or bigger. Maybe it has to have parameters or setbacks. I don't know what the staff might consider an allowable grow. If you want certain height of fence, security, cameras. I use cameras. There are 2 residents on my property. I have nearly an acre, all of us in the city. And I haven't had problems. I don't know if anybody, I love my neighbors. I don't want to jeopardize the neighborhood in any way, and I think there should be regulations to protect the medical marijuana patient and the community. But I don't see forcing those of us that can grow outside and have learned how to work with the garden should have to pay for lights and electricity. I think it's greener to use the natural light. If you don't think that it's safe enough, maybe a greenhouse that was secured inside of a fence. I'm just asking that staff and authorities in the council perhaps consider a way to allow cancer patients. There are 2 people I want to mention that cannot be here tonight. One has brain tumor, severe swelling. The other one is at home with cerebral palsy. She can't. And there are 4 people that reside on my acre, 5 actually, that use. So they're all of us. Taking care of we could not singularly. If somebody needs to be there to the people. It's to grow your medicine for a year. You have to take care, and I think I've done so responsibly for the last 5, and I would hope you would give some consideration to allowing some outdoor grow. I don't want to have to put lights in and build a new building and go through all that. I can't afford to go to a dispensary and buy medicine. This is not about making money, it's about taking care of ourselves. Staying alive and staying well and staying functional. And I want to thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Annie. Okay. Not sure about the last name here. It's Thomas Watson.
Thomas Watson. Greetings. And this will be the 3rd time I've been or noticed this city council. The first notice should be in the Federal Register, and the second one was last year, then again this year, and now the third time is here now. I'm a representative of Spirit with a Vision, which is a spiritual organization, and we have all different laws that we are I'm not going to say protected, but there's laws that should be considered by your law enforcement. I read the proposed agenda item, and I guess there's a marijuana plants, and there's medical marijuana, then there's zoning districts in there, illegal consumption, and then there's just marijuana. So I'm trying to figure out what definition for the whole will be used, whether it's just marijuana or medical marijuana, or what's the one definition?
I could answer that for you. The way that ordinances are prepared is that there is text language that explains what the rules and the regulations are. And then we also include a definition section at the beginning. And so when those words that are defined in the definition section are used within the text, it ties back to that definition. And so what you're reading is the definition section, and then if you, as you read through the text of the ordinance, you'll be able to see what the meanings of those words are.
Well, we have established ourselves in Jackson County and in Siskiyou County also, and we have been in the makings here too. We do have a website, and in the website there is, I printed this out for 5 of you, and then maybe one for the record, and it's a notice to law enforcement. It'd take 2 minutes here to read it. Greetings and salutations. This is a religious, spiritual group of human beings. It was organized by an American Indian within the definition found in 25 Code of Federal Regulations. This will act as a secondary notice. The prime notice of these laws has been published into the Federal Register within its prospective year of publication and set into record within your jurisdiction where you are practicing law.
Some of the people in the back, I guess, can't hear. If you could speak up a little.
Okay. Well, I'll start at paragraph 2 here. This will act as a secondary notice. A prime notice of these laws has been published into the Federal Register with its prospective year of publication and set into record within your jurisdiction where you are practicing law. Great portions of law enforcement in America have never been acquainted with American Indian law, so actions and behaviors that Native Americans do along with non-natives, particularly around spiritual religious aspects, may seem unconventional, but nevertheless, many people on both sides of the podium have championed to have their spiritual beliefs not infringed upon. Here are some of those laws, and other laws may be applicable pending situation, but not limited to. At international jurisdiction, you have the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. The United States of America is a signer of said declaration. Then the United States of America made an act called the International Freedom of Religion Act. As it pertains to stateside, United States of America, territories, states, jurisdictions, possessions, and tribal lands. You have American Indian Religious Freedom Act and its amendments of 1994. You have Indian Civil Rights Act. You have Religious Freedom Restoration Act and Religious Lands and Institutionalized Persons Act. Environmental, you have the Endangered Species Act. Other laws and memos to consider. As it pertains to the sacrament of marijuana, certain states have legalized marijuana to a certain degree, while other states have not. The federal government has made it clear for U.S. attorneys to not use funding for extracurricular activity of prosecuting needlessly individuals. Please also read the Cole memo and the FinCEN guidelines for banking marijuana businesses. Court cases to consider is the United States Court of Appeal for the 9th Circuit, and that's number 10-17687, DC number 1:09-CV-00336. Basically, it was the Native American Church of Hawaii versus Eric Holder and Michelle Lionheart, acting administrator of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. Please keep in mind that this is a secondary courtesy notice. These laws are also to be upheld. If there is any questions or comments or rebuttals, please do not hesitate to make contact at the information down here. There is also executive orders pertaining to this. So, as it pertains to the word marijuana there, and us indicating it as a sacrament and not as recreational or medicinal, it could be confusing to some law enforcement agencies. And since this is the third notice that I've put here, and I have not been contacted, I'm assuming that your law enforcement is up to par on these federal laws, and that from here on out, there will be no problem. So, if there is no questions, then that's the end for me.
Thank you, Tom. Steve Meekins.
First, I'd like to express my sadness at the passing of Officer Sullivan. He was a friend of me at the time of my life when I needed a friend. When Prop 215 was passed, what was it, 18 years ago, the intent of the law was to make it to where people that had a medical need could obtain their medicine without having to go to the black market. They could do this by going to a dispensary or by going for themselves. The effect of the law was that it worked. And the prices also came down. When the prices go down, the criminality around it goes down. If you want to make something criminal, prohibit it. That seems to be the American way. I also think the city could spend its money better in dealing with methamphetamine. That is a problem that has plagued this community for years, and we all know it. Turning law-abiding citizens into criminals is what this law ends up doing. Law-abiding citizens with a medical need. Using the idea of it being a fire hazard. I had a lot of experiences with grows when I lived up in Washington. All of the components are UL listed. They're no more dangerous than a brand new electric stove when they're installed right. If you want to mitigate the problems with fire, you could probably enlist the fire department to voluntarily inspect, to make sure that the circuit breaker is large enough, to make sure there's not a problem. As to not being, having to be a separate building, not an attached garage. Spent a lot of my life as a builder. There's a 2-hour firewall between the house and the garage. The door is a special door so it can't burn. I don't think fire is a problem. Wood-burning appliances are a real fire hazard in the community. Clothes dryers that aren't cleaned out can catch fire. People load ammunition in their homes in this community, and they do it next to the wood stuff. That's a fire hazard. I think there are other ways of dealing with the fire hazard than turning law-abiding citizens into criminals. I'd also like to know if a person wants to use hydroponics or grow lights to start his tomatoes a month or two early because we have such short growing season, are they going to get a $1,000 fine and a year in jail? Let's see. Mr. Chapman had his pickup truck stolen from him for a kid some years ago, a couple of kids. You didn't make Jim Chapman build a special garage so they wouldn't steal his truck again. You punished the person that committed the crime, not the victim. This law punishes the victim. One of the things that I know that is a concern of the law enforcement community are the large grows in the forest outside of town. This will help them to be larger because people within the community that need it for medicine won't be able to grow it. They're going to get it somewhere. So I look at this as being a threat to the law enforcement community as well. I think you should try to find ways to work with the community that is cultivating for medical purposes, not to turn them into criminals. The jail seems to be already full enough. I'd also like to see what the crime stats are. What have been the problems that are real, not imagined, that have come about as a result of 18 years of this law being in effect. It's not something new. We've been dealing with it for 18 years. Why all of a sudden are we going to make criminals out of law-abiding people? What is the rush? I think the rush is you don't believe it. You don't think that it has any relevance. Do you know anybody that's had cancer and chemotherapy and it allows them to continue to live a life that's viable? Many reasons that it should. I think the council is being short-sighted in trying to do this to the community. Your job should be to protect and to serve the community as a police department. These people that have medical concerns, they are part of this community as well. You seem to be concerned about the person that doesn't like the pot grown next to him. But 4 years, this one lady said that she was being harassed by her neighbors. That seems to be a little bit more concerning than a smell. I think you should work with the community instead of against the community. We would like to believe that you could do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Too much.
This marijuana issue is, I'm Jim Hodge, and thanks for listening to me tonight. This is a really tough subject, and I believe that, you really have to consider this whole thing carefully from all particular sides. My issue has a little bit to do with safety. It's interesting that this was on the agenda today, just today off the internet. 7 harmful side effects of pot legalization caused in Colorado. And just to be quick about it, the majority of DUI drug arrests involved marijuana, and 25 and 40% were marijuana alone. Colorado youth ages 12 to 17, they're now 39% higher than the national average. Drug-related student suspensions, expulsions have increased 32% in school years since it was passed. The percent of college students has greatly grown. The Denver adult arrestees tested positive for marijuana is like 48%. And there's a 57% increase in marijuana-related emergency room visits. And hospitalizations related to marijuana have increased 82% since 2008. So I appreciate the issues that these people have to live with. And if they can get some benefits from the use of marijuana, I say go for it. But there also has to be the flip side that if it's just out and it's available and people are taking it, and I believe they will, and they're sharing it with kids, there's issues with that. There's another study done recently, although I wouldn't really cite this one as being a great study because it's not that huge, but in this study, in the journal Neuroscience, people that smoke marijuana even once a week have noted brain changes. So it's not a simple issue. We can't just pass over it. You can't just, whatever. You need to be pretty careful about how you, come up with whatever your decisions are, and or how you keep it locked up, if you would. Thank you.
There you go. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to address the council? You can state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Gerald Nichols. When I was 2 years old, my father slapped me out of the rib. The busted side of my face, deafened in my ear. I have rheumatism and arthritis. And I have used marijuana since I was 10 years old. They had me on a thing called Thorazine, and it made me just rag. I couldn't wipe my butt. Pardon my language. Susanville offered an opportunity for me to buy a place, a home here, and I did. I used marijuana in order to be able to go for hemp and be able to communicate with people. Elsewise, I have bitch, I have permits. And now you're telling me that I can't have it because I cannot afford to go and pay $350 an ounce to one of the bloodsuckers at the infirmary, and that's approximately what they want. In Crescent City, I was getting it for $70 an ounce in the black market. And I was told by a local officer, I'm supporting the drug cartel. And I said,